We're doing another Week 8 NFL picks video. We had a 3-hour show last night, but let's do another 3 hours, or actually probably be 2 hours tonight. But yeah, we're gonna get more into the Week 8 NFL picks. Excited to hear what Evan has to say here, because we are coming off a 4-1 in the Circa Millions entry that we had for Week 7. So before we get into everything, please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description for the merch store. For those of you who had the over 1.5 days in a row, Walt will wear a shirt this week. You are a winner. We had this shirt yesterday, the 100% USDA man shirt. My daughter, by the way, loves the shirt because she points to it and goes, hot dog, hot dog. She's only 2, so she's amused by that stuff. You can get this shirt as well as everything else at the merch store. We had 20% off sale. You can change the colors of the shirt. You can get long sleeve, hoodie, women's tank top, infant onesie. We have mugs. We have a baseball cap. We have our famous apron. So you can get everything here. Help us out. Go to Amazon, buy my books. The most recent one is Churches of College Years, where I made fun of people I met at Penn State. I was there for 6 years, so had a lot of writing material. My first book was The Safety and a Field Goal, where this is a book about top 5 topics regarding the NFL. Mostly serious stuff, but a lot of fun stuff too, and some crazy stories you guys have never heard if you haven't read this book. And please consider super chats and super stickers. It's the best way to support the show. We had Kevin Kovac helping us out a lot yesterday, and Evan, by the way, helped us out the $10 super chat yesterday. So thank you, Evan. Evan is here tonight. Evan, how's it going? How's your Week 7?
My Week 7 could have been better because you said we went 4-1, and I have a bone to pick with you because every week we go through some of the games and we say, all right, these are our maybe, these are our definites, and we generally pick from a basket of like 7 or 8 games. On my 8 games last week, I went 6-2, and all of a sudden I realized that we had the Chargers. I don't remember ever putting the Chargers into even our maybe basket. I guess at some point you texted me, and yeah, we were on the Chargers instead of the Giants. I know I said last week that the Giants were my number 1 pick, and I always lose the Giants. Yeah, right. And I figure, all right, if you're going to take it out, I'll let you save me from losing money on this garbage football team that just constantly is my nemesis. But the Giants were right side +7 all the way. Obviously should have won the game outright. I went 4-1 in my super contest entry also, which was a new mini week 7, 8, 9. But I thought for some reason, I thought we had the Giants, and we were looking at a 5-0. Sure enough, 4-1. But we'll take a 4-1 and hope to continue to bank on top of those.
Yeah, we were talking about that on Saturday when we were finalizing our card. And initially, we had the Eagles. We didn't have the Giants. We had the Giants in along with the Eagles, and we were talking about replacing the Eagles. And I think I texted you, Chargers instead of Giants, kind of off that game. Texted you that at 1:31 a.m. Maybe it was too late. Maybe it was just a little groggy there. I don't know, but like. It's weird. For some reason I thought we had the Chargers on the card. I don't know where that came from either, because I thought it was our maybe, and then I did go back too, and I realized it wasn't either. So I don't know where that came from. So I guess I will take the L there, but we should have been right. We should have been 5-0, but
should 5-0. We'll go 5-0 this week. It's all good. But yeah, the big thing is, and I was listening to some of your show last night with Andy about Survivor, Circus Survivor here. We got the Circus Survivor shirt going. You're on the Walter Football merch. I got my Circus Survivor shirt. And I went with the Bears. I took one entry with the Patriots and one with the Bears, stressing all week. I really thought about changing the pick. I texted Andy. I put in the picks, and I said, let's let it ride. I don't like to make changes once I submit my picks. Very rare. I mean, unless the quarterback, of course, gets hurt. Right. Andy has instructions to remove it or switch it. But I went with the Bears and stressed out about it until probably about halftime. So we survived in advance on 2 entries. This week, relatively easy week, I think, for Survivor for the most part. Although I guess it's never easy, but should be a couple of games that are quote-unquote free squares. So we'll move on. We'll try to find another 4-1 card and see if we can get this going in the right direction.
Yeah, I think it's Yeah, I texted Tom. Kings win, Walter. Tom gave out the LA Kings tonight, so that was it went to overtime, but that was pretty clutch. I think the only outstanding bet we have on the site is Jokic over 11.5 rebounds, which he has 11 right now. With looks like there's 11 minutes left, and it's a close game, so he should be able to get it. At least hope so. Knock on wood. But yeah, Tom, thank you for that call. I actually just texted you. Thank you for that call on the LA Kings tonight. So it's a nice way to start off the weekend. And Evan texted me like a million props tonight that all hit.
We went 5-0 tonight in the live prop market.
Well, I went 0-0 because my phone is charging. I didn't see the text. So you went 5-0. I went 0-0. But
I think I texted you at one point. I said, I'm just handing out candy here.
Yeah.
Kimani Vidal, when he had 65 yards late or midway through the third quarter, his line was 85. And it was clear that the game plan was going to give him the ball.
Right.
We know that they want to run the ball. We know they were running the clock out in a blowout game. And it was like I took over 83 or 84, whatever that number was. And on the next carry, he got 21 yards. And I'm like, okay, that was easy. Let's do it again. So we played again over 95, 101, and 108.5. At one point, he got a 14-yard carry to 109. On the very next carry, he went -1 back to 108. I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. And then he was out of the game, and then he came back in and got his over. We also had the Herbert over, although that actually went 1-1. We played. I tried to get cute at the end when I said to you, like, is he going to take a knee? Maybe he'll take a knee, maybe not. So we went 1-1 on the Herbert props. But Kimani Vidal, just, ride that ladder, ride that over. So that was nice. Otherwise, it was a pretty bad football game once again on a Thursday night. So looking forward to moving on, and grateful that we don't have any international games this week.
Oh my God, I can't wait Sunday morning. Not to have nightmares about the games going awry for me. It's like a weekly routine. I hate this so much. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about the first game here being a 1:00 game. So it says with these loony protests, I guess the Kings will have to go to the Eskimos, Indians, and Redskins route. That's true. Yeah, no Kings, Tom. What are you thinking here, giving out the Kings? We had Vidal 75 plus rushing yards ahead of the game, so that was nice. The only thing we lost tonight was I bet Carson Wentz over rushing yards, and he got hurt. So I feel like he just didn't want to run and land on his shoulder. I thought because
he got killed tonight. He was awful, and their offensive line, obviously, without Darisaw and Brian O'Neill wasn't in.
Yeah,
they were terrible on that line tonight. He had no time. He was a deer in the headlights. He wasn't running anywhere. He was grimacing on every single time he got hit, and he got hit a bunch. Besides for the 5 sacks, I mean, he was just under pressure the entire evening. So.
Yeah,
that bet was dead in the water.
Yeah, we did live bet Chargers -13.5 when they were up they were up 11, I think. We bet the -13.5. As soon as Wentz hurt his elbow or his shoulder, I was like, I tweeted out, I'm like, Wentz hurt, Darisaw out. Let's bet the Chargers -13.5. So that one hit. So
see, when you do that, I played Chargers over 9.5 more points. They had 24, and I played over 33.5 at that point.
Yeah.
And that's a lesson for the future for teams that are ahead big. And really, I've told you this more with big dogs that are ahead. You get a very good value on the live team total for the team that's ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Because the team that's behind is generally favored to do something, and they have to adjust the team total. They have to adjust the spreads, but they don't necessarily adjust the totals. So basically what happens is the team totals get adjusted inherently, because the actual total stays the same. Whatever amount of points remaining left, let's say it's 9.5 points total or 13.5 points total, but the team that's now a dog shades down. So you have value playing the team that's ahead, figuring also the team that's behind will have to go in their own territory, perhaps on a 4th down. They also have to move. They have to go. They have to be more aggressive. And all it takes is one big play, and you get across midfield, and you're kicking a field goal late. So we've seen that many times, and I thought that was a very easy bet to make. I do this a lot of times at halftime with big dogs that are ahead playing over 6.5. Mm-hmm. Here, the Chargers are more aggressive. We've seen this with the Chargers on team games that they're ahead. They're still pushing the ball downfield. They're still moving. So playing over 9.5 from like when they had 24, I guess that was middle of the third quarter. I thought that was a fairly easy bet and obviously hit middle of the fourth quarter. We didn't even need that last field goal to get that over. So a lot of opportunities in these live betting markets, especially with standalone games. people should pay attention to.
Yeah. I thought the minus 13.5 was pretty easy in the second quarter. Like as soon as Wentz got it, I thought Wentz was going to get knocked out of the game, but he came back and just wasn't 100%. And like no Darisaw just meant no blocking because they also were missing their center and right tackle. So Minnesota's offensive line just a disaster. So just something to keep in mind for next week if if they don't get their guys back from injury. All right, let's get to these games here. The first one is Jets at the Bengals. This line is Bengals minus 6.5. I feel like I need like an intervention to not bet the Jets here. So this line is just way too high for the Bengals. Bengals have no defense. They have no running game. And a team like that feels like they just allow the backdoor cover very easily. So I feel like if the Bengals are up by 10, 14, 17, the Jets could maybe score twice and get the backdoor cover in the fourth quarter. We saw that against Tampa, where Tampa's defense is pretty sketchy too. So the Jets were able to get the backdoor with Tyrod Taylor for the Jets to cover that spread, and I feel like they could do that here. And I just feel like with Joe Flacco, he had a great game against the Steelers and a nice second half against the Packers, but I don't know if we like really trust this. Like maybe we do, but I don't know. But the Jets have played close games. They played 3 2-point games so far. They played a 6-point game. They played a 7-point game. They have gotten blown out a few times. So it could certainly happen. But I think I think this is gonna be a close one. So I'm not gonna bet this heavily, but I had this down for a couple units. Am I crazy here? Do I need someone to stop me?
Yes, and I'm going to stop you because you brought up the Bucks game, and the Bucks game that was week 3. The Jets had it quit by week 3.
Right.
It was maybe I think week 5 when the Jets players decided to quit, and then in week 6 the Jets coaches decided to quit. Talk about backdoor. The Jets were down by 7 last week at home. There was a minute 40 on the clock. It was a 4th down. You know what the Jets did? They punted.
I can't believe that. I couldn't believe they did that.
Bet the Jets when they're punting down by 1 score with a minute 40 to go. I get it. I think they had 3 timeouts. But what's more likely? Getting a stop, getting the ball back deep in your own territory with no timeouts for a team that has 6 points and then driving the length of the field, or just attempting a 4th and 10. It wasn't 4th and 25. It's 4th and 10. What do you have to lose? They punted the ball away from their own 15-yard line. So at best, they're getting the ball back with a minute to go with no timeouts and having to drive the length of the field. So let's talk about Cincinnati. They're off a great win, right? Absolutely fantastic win. Flacco, 342 passing yards. Chase was unstoppable. So what are the Jets going to do? The Jets could theoretically put sauce on him, but then there's T. Higgins that can get into the mix. Finally, they had a nice running game last week. They rushed for 6.2 yards per carry. The defense was not good, obviously. But I just mentioned the Jets who have continued to quit. They had 3.7 yards per play on offense against Carolina. They were 0 for 1 in the red zone. They only got into the red zone 1 time. I mentioned the down 7 late where they punted. Now, Tyrod, I don't know how he wants to pronounce his name. Tyrod was 10 for 26. That's below 50% passing with 2 more picks. So it's not like he's coming in and is a major upgrade over Fields. The Jets are last in the NFL with minus 1.3 turnovers per game. I think they only have 1 takeaway on the entire season. I think it's only 1. I don't think it's more than 1. It's definitely at least 1, but it's 1 or 2 turnovers that they've created the entire season. The team is an absolute joke. I texted a few of my Jet fan friends, is this rock bottom? And most of them, of course, said no. They expect it to get worse. So what I had to do here with the Jets is lower them in the power ratings to Tennessee level. I now have the Jets and the Titans tied for last. I don't know who would be favored. I don't know who I would want to pick on a neutral field. I might even, dare I say, lean towards the Titans. But for now, I have both of those teams as minus 11, which is massive. Most of the time, your worst team should be like a minus 7. And your best team should be around a plus 7, which leads to about a 14-point spread. We very rarely see lines that are more than 14 for top versus the bottom. I have the Jets as a do not bet team. The Jets, the Titans, the Dolphins are very, very close to that mix. And I said Cincinnati, they're now 3-4. They win this game, they're at 500. There's talk of Burrow maybe being available to play late in the season, maybe December if they're in the mix. They're not out of it, which is kind of crazy given where they were a few weeks ago. So I think there's some hope. I don't know if Hendrickson's going to play in this game. Obviously, he matters. But now they're at home. They're feeling a little better. against a team that has flat out quit. I made this line 7.5. I think if this line's under a touchdown, I lean to the Bengals. Now, do I love it? No, I don't necessarily. I'm not rushing to bet Flacco laying real points, but I have no confidence in the Jets' ability to score, and I don't have any confidence in the Jets to even try, because for the last 2-3 weeks, we've just seen them flat out quit. So I think you're nuts, or anybody's crazy for betting the Jets. Either play the Bengals on a teaser, or just don't watch the game.
Don't watch the game. I think the all-time low for the Jets is when Curb Your Enthusiasm, the one guy, just deleted himself to quote unquote to not get banned by YouTube because the Jets just drove him crazy. So, I hear what you're saying, and maybe I won't do it. Maybe I won't be on the Jets because this is one of my it's like my least confident game in which I was planning to put money on. The Jets could certainly quit. That's definitely possible. But I'll say this, that like this defensive matchup is so much easier than what they saw against Carolina. Like Carolina's defense has gotten a lot better. They're number one against the run somehow. I don't know how, but they are number one against the run. They're number 9 overall since week 2. So they have been a lot better defensively. We know how bad Cincinnati's defense is. Like Aaron Rodgers looked like vintage Aaron Rodgers last Thursday. So theoretically, I think the Jets could score against the Bengals, but then I think back to the Week 5 game that you mentioned against Dallas, just a great matchup for the Jets. They barely did anything offensively, so it could be that sort of game too, where and they're so poorly coached too. Aaron Glenn just has no idea what he's doing. Maybe when he punted, maybe he thought they were tied. Maybe just didn't look at the scoreboard. He just is like, hey, it's 6-6. I don't remember this Carolina touchdown. That's like the only explanation I have. Aaron Glenn is just. He's been abysmal. I thought he'd be one and done, but apparently people have pointed out that like he's always hugging with the owner and stuff like that, and the owner's blaming the quarterback. So I think that they're going to give him a second shot, which I think if I were in charge, I would have let him go already.
Listen, at the end of the day, you can talk about Carolina's defense being improved. This is not the 85 Bears. This is not the 2000 Ravens. The Jets got to the red zone once. They had less than 4 yards per play. They scored 6 points.
Yep.
At least show some level of competency. Put up 16. Give me a couple of first downs. Get into the red zone 2 or 3 times out of 10 or 11 drives. Their offense is utterly pathetic. The coaching staff is an absolute joke. And I don't trust them with any ability for any sort of backdoors when they're literally punting down by a score at home. They didn't score a touchdown in the game. By the way, one of the field goals they had was before halftime. I forget exactly what happened, but they ended up with a short field. So their offense really produced 3 points for the game against Carolina. So Tell it what you will. This is not a top defense. They might be slightly improved from what they were, because last year they were the worst defense. Even if they're a middle of the pack defense, they shouldn't be good enough to shut down a team. There was no weather situation there. The Jets are an absolute dumpster fire, and either pass, because you're going to feel real silly when you're betting that Jets team. There are people who took Jets last week for Survivor or bet the Jets. Obviously, you took them, I think, in the contest pick. It's like once you're watching half that game, you're realizing, what am I thinking right now?
Right.
I'm off this team. They're on the do not bet list. It's either the other team or a pass. Easy pass or give me Cincinnati.
Yeah, Carolina is 9th in defense. I think they are playing good defense this year, and the one bad performance they've had since week 2 was against New England when they were missing both defensive ends, and they started this guy DJ Johnson, and the Patriots just kept running at him over and over again, and he was so bad that the Panthers cut him after the game. He started, and they cut him right after the game. Outside of that, they've been great defensively. Their run defense has been number 1. It's insane how good they've been. So I would push back on that. And Cincinnati's defense is awful, like utterly awful. But like I said, Jets, you can't try.
By the way, they gave up 24 points to the Dolphins.
No, Bryce Young gave up 14 off turnovers.
True. Okay.
Yeah. 0-16, you could do it, Jets. Well, wait, 0-17, right? 0-17. There's we don't want to see 0-16 and then a win at the end. Do you think Tyrod is really the answer? No. I would keep going with Justin Fields. Like, he's better than Tyrod, but I don't know. They're both terrible. Like, surely you can find someone else. I recall last year the Sharps kept betting the Jets week after week and losing almost every week. The time has come to follow Evan's lead. Just save the money for any other game. Okay,
I lost a lot of money on the Jets last year. I was on the over win total. Yep. I was playing the Jets. I thought that they were better than what they showed, and I'm off of it. Forget it. I'm done. They're on the DNB list, and right now, like I said, I have them tied with the Titans. So to me, they're the worst or the second to worst team in football.
Yeah, they're certainly in Group F. So we can move on. We're not going to have this on the card. So this is a 13 game slate, or actually 12 because we already had the Thursday game. So it's kind of crazy that we have to almost pick every game or every other game. Anyway, we have your Niners coming up the big win in Atlanta at Houston. This line was 1.5. It's up to 2.5 in some places. So looks like some sharp money coming in on Houston potentially.
Contest line is 1.5, right?
Yes, 1.5. So I think this is a good spot for Houston, bad spot for the Niners to coming off a not an upset technically win against Atlanta because they were slight favorites, but it's a pseudo upset because everyone thought Atlanta was going to win. They came out, had an impressive defensive performance, and they won on national TV. And now they have to travel, here against a Houston team that was just they kind of embarrassed on Monday night. And it wasn't like that lopsided of a final score, but they played pretty poorly. For me, Houston was a fade Monday night for a couple of reasons, but the main thing that really stuck out to me was the matchups. Like Houston's offensive line is maybe the worst in the NFL, and they're facing Seattle's defensive line, which has the second most pressures in the NFL. San Francisco no longer has a defensive line that pressures a lot. They have some decent players, but there's no Nick Bosa, for example, so they can't get as much pressure on CJ Stroud in this matchup. So Stroud should play better. So I like Houston's chances of rebounding here. Their defense is excellent, and I'm not sure what we're going to see out of Brock Purdy potentially. I know he was limited on Wednesday, and it looks like he was limited again today. No Ricky Pearsall. Obviously, you have McCaffrey and Kittle, stuff like that. So the Niners aren't going to be shut out or anything, but I think Houston's defense should be able to limit them and win. I think they're going to win an ugly game, 17-14, 16-13, something like that. I think it's going to be some sort of game like that. I'm not going to bet this game. I would side with Houston if I had to, though. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, this is my lowest rated game. I don't know if Purdy's going to play. Last week, I knew he wasn't going to play. This week, there's a chance he's going to play. I guess we'll know more tomorrow. Whether he plays or not, he might be rusty. You mentioned the Niner defensive line is not one that's going to take advantage of what we saw on Monday night. Houston was awful in that game. Again, another miserable offensive performance, 3.7 yards per play. They were 2 for 15 on third downs. And the play calling, there was a sequence where they had a 3rd and 1, and they just lined up, hand the ball off, run into the line of scrimmage, or maybe a -1, or I think it was no gain, and then 4th and 1. Hey, guys, let's do an exact same play, which produced the exact same results. If anybody's surprised about that. So their play calling has been a disaster. Their offensive line, obviously. I mentioned that I'm not sure if it's a combination of the line and Stroud, because he certainly does not see the protections. He's definitely not helping his line out. He looks like a deer in the headlights. He was pressured 21 times in the game and was 4 for 18 passing under pressure. That's pretty bad. The Niners, big game, big win, kind of keeping their season afloat despite the injuries. I agree with you that I think this is probably a Houston spot. Definitely wouldn't pick it. I agree with the low scoring game. I like the under in the game. I don't know who's going to win this game. I would lean towards Houston and definitely wouldn't pick this. I wouldn't even play this game on a teaser because this game to me could be a 16-10, 16-7, 19-10, something like that, something low scoring where I just don't want any part of this game.
Yeah, I don't. So we feel pretty much the same way about that. Okay, let's move on to.
Let's talk about the Niners, and I mentioned this before the season, and I mentioned it last year. I was very optimistic with the defense with Saleh coming in. A lot of no-name players, really a lot of young guys, rookies, second-year players were playing very well. How long can that last? I don't know. Maybe it was a product of Penix just having a terrible game last week, but they did a great job against Bijan. Their defense was fantastic. Tatum Bethune, who is now wearing the green dot for Fred Warner. I mean, you're talking about replacing some of the best players in the league between Bosa and Fred. And the team's doing a great job. And I give Saleh a lot of credit. I just don't trust the offense. And, I mean, is this defense really going to continue playing at that level, even against a really poor offense? I don't know if I trust them. So even going forwards, the Niners are a team. And I was on Atlanta last week. I didn't want to bet it, but I was definitely on Atlanta side.
Mm-hmm.
The Niners, despite their easy schedule, there's no gimmies right now with this roster. So, as a Niner fan, I'm concerned. Hopefully, we get some guys back, receivers. Kittle being back really helped the run game. You saw that in the run game. He didn't get any targets, but he was huge. Something to note that this week is National Tight End Day week. Yes. Last year, a National Tight End Week, the tight ends went crazy, almost as if it's like a week 18 where some of the quarterbacks are getting the guys' records towards the end of the season. I feel like it's part of the game plan to get these tight ends their numbers. I don't know if I'm going to bet this pre-game, but I would be very surprised if Kittle did not have a big game. And does a big game mean he's scoring touchdowns? Not necessarily, but I think he's going to be very, very involved in the passing game. He'll be involved in the red zone. So tight ends throughout the league, Kraft, Kittle, Kelsey, all these guys that are kind of outspoken tight ends want to be involved this week in the game plan. And I think it's something to take advantage of when you're looking at in-game props and pre-game props for that matter.
Yeah, we talked about that. I bet almost every over on every tight end last year, and they almost all hit. I think it was like 11-3 or something. So I am looking forward to National Tight End Day. I can't wait. So we had Nick Caley versus Kyle Shanahan. Who do you trust more? Well, I know your answer, sort of. I mean, I don't know about Caley, your opinion of Caley, but Shanahan, you're not the biggest fan.
No, I'm not the biggest fan. Now, Shanahan's fine in game early. It's really when it comes down to fourth downs, his affection for punting or kicking long field or kicking short field goals, for that matter. And then at the end of the game, when the team is ahead, he blows games. He blows big games. He's obviously one of the worst coaches when it comes to holding leads in NFL history, given that he's blown multiple Super Bowls with multiple teams with double-digit leads. So it's not an accident that this continues to happen to the same guy for the same reasons over and over again. So I don't trust him in games where he has a lead, but the team will be prepared. And the Niners are usually very good early in the game. Their first one or two drives, they usually come out with very, very creative play calling. They get boot action. They get Kittle open in the flat. They really often have that first or second drive that looks really nice. They did this against the Rams a couple of weeks ago. They came out, 2 touchdowns on the board, and they did nothing the rest of the game. Yep. And that's been their MO for the last couple of years. Is they start hot, and they got to hold on. So I trust Shanahan early, not late, not betting the game anyway. So I think we should can move on.
Yeah, we had a question about a couple questions about Nico Collins. No Nico, big issue.
Huge issue.
Do you know Nico's status?
I don't. He had a concussion.
Yeah, he is DNP twice with a concussion so far, so it would be almost a miracle for him to play at this point. Yeah, look, it is a big deal for sure. It's not cluster injuries, though. They still have a couple guys, although Christian Kirk is out, I guess. But Jalen Ole, I thought, was a good replacement for Kirk in the slot. So I still think Houston can win a low-scoring game without Collins. I don't think it's like a make-or-break deal, but it certainly lowers my confidence on Houston. So I'm not going to bet this game either way. If Collins if Collins is like suddenly full on Friday and is ready to play, I'm not going to suddenly be, I love Houston here.
Right.
I'm not going to be on the game regardless. But please make a 16 leg parlay with anytime touchdowns for 16 tight ends. We can't do 16 because, I guess we could do 16. I mean, there are only 12 games left this week, so it would be. I think it would be 12, or I don't know if like Monday. Like, does Monday Night Football count for National Tight End Day? I don't.
Oh,
think
absolutely.
So.
You don't think Kelsey is talking to Mahomes all week about National Tight End Week?
I don't. Does Kelsey even care about football at this point?
Yeah, no. Kelsey cares about his stats. He doesn't care about winning, but he cares about his.
Okay.
He cares about his stats. For sure.
Okay, fair enough. Fair.
Okay, you can give a damn about winning.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so Gatson started off tonight. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we missed that one. At least I did. And the Hawkinson didn't do much, though. Nico doesn't practice tomorrow. I don't think he could pass concussion protocol. Yeah, I think he'll be ruled out, too. So, all right, let's get to the next game. And speaking of injuries, we're going to pull out the injury report in a second. Ravens are -6.5 against Chicago. So we have to look at the Ravens injury report given how many injuries they had, prior to the bye and everything. So let's pull this up. And look at this. Everyone is full except for Hopkins, who was an illness. Now, I see a couple illnesses here, which is always.
Count? Not really.
No, the only thing I say is like you see a couple illnesses. Like once I see 3, I'm like, okay, is the flu going on there? But 2, I don't know. Maybe it's like food poisoning or something. It could be separate things. I don't know. But Humphrey was DNP yesterday. He's full now. Lamar Jackson though limited. That's the one concern I have here because everyone is full. You had Awuzie full, Flowers full, Hamilton full, Roquan full, Ronnie Stanley full, even Patrick Ricard full. Like they're all going to be back, but we don't know about Lamar Jackson's status. Limited. I want to see full on Friday, even though it's not like a real practice. Just that'll give me more confidence. But on Wednesday, at least, he was splitting the touches with the 2 other quarterbacks on the team in practice. So I'm just not sure if he's 100% or if he's healthy or if he's even going to play. If Jackson plays and I hear that he's good to go, I would like Baltimore quite a bit here to bounce back. And like Baltimore, when healthy, is one of the best teams in the NFL, and it looks like they're healthy now. Obviously, they're missing Madubuike, who's on IR, but overall, they are going to be way more healthier than they've been since week 3. In summary, I do like Baltimore here, but if Jackson's like limited again on Friday and there's like, we don't know if he's going to play, then I might come in Chicago. What do you think about this game?
I don't think you could bet this game before the game starts because even if Lamar plays, what we saw before he got hurt was he was taking a lot of sacks. Now, was that because he wasn't seeing the field right? He wasn't having good games, just generally speaking, or maybe there was an issue with the hamstring before we really knew about it. I don't think we don't know if running will be part of the game plan, right? Are they going to call design QB runs, or if he finds himself under pressure, is he going to be willing to take off and go full out, or not? So to me, I agree with the spread. I think the spread is correct, and it's interesting. I've heard a bunch of people, some people that I respect that have talked about this game. So how could the 1-5 Ravens be favored over the? It's like that's the dumbest comment I've ever heard in my life, right?
Right.
Who cares what their record is? It's completely irrelevant. It's like, where are you power rating the Ravens today going forwards? If they're healthy, they're one of the top 5 or 6 teams in the league. The Bears, to me, are still a below-average football team. So I think the line makes sense. But I would take the Bears until it's proven that the Ravens are back to what they were, meaning Lamar running. If Lamar is not running, if he's not willing to take off and go for 30, 40 yards in a game, if there's no design runs for him, I don't think we can lay points with the Ravens before a game starts. So I agree with the spread. I would lean towards the Ravens in a close, higher scoring game. We know how bad the Bears defense really is. Their last couple of wins have been relatively fluky. Last week they won. They won convincingly last week. Rattler obviously threw 3 picks, and that pretty much kept the Saints from sniffing that game. But the 2 weeks before, the Bears should have lost both of those games. So to me, the Bears are now a 2-win team, maybe a 3-win team. They're certainly not an above-average team. I don't trust them, especially going on the road against a desperate Ravens team. But I'm not willing to lay points with the team until I really know for sure that they're healthy.
Yeah. So what you said about the people who are like, oh, I can't believe the Ravens are favored at 1-5. That reminds me of the Will Compton tweet we had a couple weeks ago where he's like, why is Kansas City favored over Detroit? Does Vegas know something we don't? It's like, yeah, at least
yes, they do.
Yeah. You don't know anything apparently. So the records don't matter. That's the quote from Bill Parcells, which is the most misleading quote of all time, where he says you are what your record is, which is like, it's fine if you're a football team and you're worried about winning every week, but if you're handicapping football games, that is the most incorrect statement you could ever hear in your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Jalen Noel or Tez Johnson is a desperation streamer. I have many injuries buys. Well, there's 6 teams on buys, so you're not alone. I think Tez Johnson, I'll say. I think that he has a good matchup against the Saints, who have a terrible defense. Now, Jalen Noel doesn't have a terrible matchup or anything either. But you have to worry about Christian Kirk. If you're thinking about Noel, make sure Kirk is out, because if Kirk plays, Noel won't see many snaps. So, good Lord, look at those tabs. My friend, this is nothing. This is absolutely nothing. I have
my dad, who might be watching right now, is very, very proud of you with all those tabs.
I have
my dad's got more tabs than anybody on his computer screen, so he's probably looking at that, and if he is, and thinking, see, because I always tell him not to have so many tabs open because it slows the computer down.
I designed this computer myself through.
By the way, Stephen Curry just made like a 30-foot 3-pointer to tie the game with 20 seconds to go.
Well, Jokic,
you already got your Jokic rebounds.
Yeah, I got my Jokic rebounds.
I needed also exactly 12 rebounds. I threw in a stupid same game parlay before for fun, and if I get overtime, I might have a chance to actually win this bet.
Okay, well, actually, I have a Jokic So Rare card, which I'm rooting for. I don't know if it'll matter. I don't think I'm going to make any money this week, but it's all about. I just want the essence. So that's no.
I have an 11-game same game parlay, and I have hit 7 out of the 11.
Wow.
And the 4 things that I need 1 rebound from Murray, 1 3 from Hield, 6 points from Jokic, and 2 points from Jimmy Butler to win $5,450.
Oh man, well, rooting for you here.
So we needed overtime there, and Curry just made a 3 going, fading to his left from like 30 feet. So
nice. There we go.
If you see me looking down to the side, that's why I'm looking down. But anyway, let's keep rolling.
Yeah. Anyway, real quick on the tabs, I have this is just one of 4 windows in which I have tabs open on Chrome alone. I also have Opera, which has 100 tabs open. I have Firefox, which also has 100 tabs open. So in all, I probably have 350 tabs.
Seriously, okay. Well, you beat my dad. He doesn't have 350 tabs. I get crazy when he has 50 tabs open.
Oh no!
How does that not slow down or screw up your computer with all those tabs?
I told you I designed this computer. I put in every single best spec possible, and this computer, if I did not get a deal, would have cost $6,000. But I got
okay. So there you go. So my dad, who's watching, who says thanks for the shout out, hi pops. Your computer is probably about 10, 15, maybe 20 years old. It definitely does not cost $6,000, and this game just went to overtime. So we have a shot now to win $5,000 on us on a nice SGP.
That's awesome. If we win, I want to hear all the likes. I'm sure everyone will too. I got a Black Friday or Cyber Monday, whichever one it was. I got a deal. It's 50% off. I'm I saved $3,000 here. Let's go. I've had this for 5 years, and it's been great. 4 years. So yeah, it's been awesome. So it's worth the money. NBA. Let's discuss how Billups was one of my all-time favorites, and now I'd like to see him get the Nicky Santoro treatment from Casino. Okay, well, we can get into that maybe at the end or whatever if you want, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like there are way more important crimes that they should be pursuing. Not that criminals should go free, but there are people doing way more things that are worse, getting away with it, and nothing's been done about them at all. So anyway, let's get into Dolphins at Falcons. So. This is the first game on one of my cards, and based on the conversations we've had via text, I imagine it's going to be on yours. I love the Dolphins. I'm just kidding. I love Atlanta here.
You called me for a second. I thought, what?
No, Atlanta's the way to go here. Look, Dolphins can't stop the run at all. They allowed 206 to Zoodle. They allowed 124 to Vidal. They allowed 3 touchdowns to Judkins. Now they go against Bijan Robinson, arguably the best running back in the NFL. Maybe it's Taylor, but it's certainly top 2. McCaffrey. I forgot about him. So top 3 running back in the NFL here. But Atlanta runs the ball so well. So Miami's defense has no chance of stopping Atlanta's rushing attack. And then it gets to Miami's offense, which can't block. And you have Atlanta's defense, which is great at rushing the quarterback. Not great, but pretty good at rushing the quarterback. And Tua just lost another weapon. Darren Waller on IR. Mm-hmm. So it's just Waddle, and Tua apparently is too short to find Waddle. That's what he said. And then Achane, which I think Achane could have a decent game, but that's it. So Atlanta should be able to win easily. They're also coming off a loss. So great spot, great matchup. I love Atlanta. This line's too low. What do you think?
Yeah, I'll just add, when we're watching, again, this is Miami is now on the do not bet list with the Jets and Titans. They are the 3rd to worst team. They're probably slightly ahead of Jets Titans. I'll just add, when you watch these press conferences, Tua last week came out and flat out said, this is 3 weeks ago, he's calling out the leadership of the team when he's supposedly the leader of the team, right? This week, they asked him a question about why he didn't hit Waddle over the middle at one point. And he said, well, that's because I couldn't see him. Like, well, you're 6 feet tall. You can't see over your 6'6" lineman. That's why there's windows to throw into. But he physically says, well, I can't see them. But he also threw a pick from the end zone right over the middle of the field. So you're telling us you can't see, but you're just chucking the ball over the middle of the field anyway. This team is a dead man walking. The coach knows he's gone. Everybody knows he's gone. I have them power rated at the bottom of the list. And I asked you this last week before we talked about the Falcons. I said, where do you have this in your look-ahead lines? I made the line 11.5, and I cannot figure out how this line is 7 or 7.5. This is a blowout. And Miami is a team like the Jets, like the Titans. They're probably looking at being blown out every single week. They lack fight, they lack leadership, and they lack talent. This is a combination that's not a recipe for success. There's no fight in them to come back when they're behind. They're down 31-6 last week. Cleveland didn't have to do anything, but Tua just physically handed the ball to the other team. Quinn Ewers comes in. He's not any better, right? So where's the fight? Where's the preparation during the week? What are they doing? Now they're going on the road against the Falcons team that's pissed off. Bijan in this game could go for 200 plus. Wouldn't surprise me. I can't imagine any other game plan other than giving him the ball as much as humanly possible. So how is this line 7.5 at home? Are you implying that the Falcons are only 4 or 5 points better than Miami? That's insane. The Falcons are a close to average team, and Miami is just so far below that this line has to be double digits. And if it's not, give me the Falcons.
Yeah, this should be a blowout. John asking, or he says, I don't trust Atlanta to win by margin, even if Miami is quit. Well, 2 of their 3 wins this year have been by double digits, so I wouldn't be afraid of that. And one of those wins was against Buffalo. They won by 10 against Buffalo. So,
but look at Miami's losses.
Yeah, that's true too. Miami's losses, just to read it off, they lost by 10 to Buffalo. Okay, they lost by 25 to the Colts, 2 to the Chargers. They lose by 6 to the Patriots, 25 to the Browns, and 3 to the Panthers. So they've
gotten blown out a couple of times.
Yeah, they've had some ugly games, a couple of close games, but some of those close games were with Tyreek Hill too. So it's not. Let's not forget about that. He's long gone. Darren Waller's gone. Kyle Pitts anytime touchdown on the tight end day. Yes, yeah, I could see that too. So, we're in agreement. So this is a definite for us then.
I have this as a top 5, so I would say if you do as well, then it should be in our card.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I highlighted this week 9 games, which is unique with only a 12-game sample size. I don't look at the Thursday night game, so I've highlighted a whole bunch of games. But the Bengals were not in the top 5. They were a team that I highlighted to look towards just because I like fading the Jets, Titans, and Dolphins. But to me, this line is just way off, and we've had success taking some of these larger favorites. So
you highlight 9 games that we already would dismiss.
Well,
2.
The Bengals were the first team that I highlighted.
Oh, the Bengals. Oh, you highlighted the Bengals. Okay.
Yeah, I highlighted the Bengals, but if you're not on it, and I'm not, that was the last. That was the 9th of the games that I highlighted.
Okay. All right. Fair
and
enough.
Really, it was just because the line is under 7.
Okay.
If that line went to 7. I mean, contest lines are 6.5, so I do think those lines are going to move towards 7.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Okay. The next game, Bills at the Panthers. So had this is another one where we have to worry about injuries because Matt Milano is so important to this Bills defense. They can't stop the run without him. We've seen that year after year. Of course, the Bills website doesn't have an update, so I'll have to go searching Twitter for that. But I know he was limited on Wednesday, and so I imagine if he's limited again, we just won't really know. I would like to see a full for Matt Milano to be confident that he's healthy. Then just remember that even if he does return, it doesn't mean that he's going to be healthy. We saw him return last year off an injury, and for 2 weeks he was awful, and then he got so much better after that. He was limited today too, so that's a concern that they may not be healthy. Daquan Jones also missed last week's game, and Daquan was DNP'd twice so far. So I worry about Buffalo's run defense. That said, I still like Buffalo here. They're coming off 2 losses and the bye. And usually, the bye is not a great thing, but for a good team coming off losses off a bye, I think that is generally going to be a good thing for Buffalo here. And we had a good point from Kevin on the chat yesterday where he was saying this is a big step up in competition for Carolina. And Carolina has not played a team above Group C this year except for the Patriots, and they got blown out in that game. Now, they did have double defensive end injuries. I talked about that before with that guy, DJ Johnson, getting cut. So, that's part of the reason why they got blown out. But this is by far the best team they'll have played this year. They've played so many bad teams. So I don't know if they can quite compete with Buffalo. And this line is low enough that, even if Buffalo has like one of these kind of like meandering games where they're really not doing all that much, they could still cover. Like they didn't cover against the Dolphins or Saints, but they were huge favorites in those games. If they have a similar game against the Panthers, then they'll probably win by 10 or something and cover. So I'm leaning toward Buffalo here. What do you think about this game?
So I did not highlight this game.
Okay.
I guess I'm leaning towards Buffalo as well. Carolina, let's be fair. That was a pretty pathetic game that they played last week as well. 13-6 against the Jets is not exactly a quality win. Yeah. They only had 4.3 yards per play in that game, obviously gave up 3.7. The only good thing about Carolina recently is they've been running the ball very well, and that's the weakness of the Bills. So Buffalo is actually, I think, last in the league, giving up 5.8 yards per carry. That's pretty sad. So their defense has been – I mentioned this 2 weeks ago with Atlanta, why we were on Atlanta in that game. So I don't like a team – that goes on the road as a favorite of more than, let's say, 3 points and can't stop the run. So that would be a big concern for me. But the fact that they played so poorly against Atlanta, Allen was awful in that game. They were lifeless offensively. The play calling was poor. And then they go on a bye. They were unable to stop the run. They gave up over 200 yards rushing in that game. There has to be a little bit more of an emphasis on defense and stopping the run and just getting back to basics. And when Buffalo gets out early, they keep their foot on the gas. This is a team that I'm absolutely not afraid of laying points with when they have that lead. It's when they're behind that I become concerned about Allen, because I don't think he kind of lacks patience. When he's behind by 7, 10, 12, 14 points, he tries to get it all back in one shot, and you can't do that. Now, Mahomes is like the opposite. Mahomes, he's down 10, 14 points. He's methodical. Allen just chucks the ball deep one after the other, and they just, they don't take what the defense is willing to give you. He just tries to get it all back at once. So if they have a lead, if they come out aggressive early and have that attention to detail, I think they'll win this game. I still have Carolina as a bottom 5 team. I get it. I understand you saying they're better defensively lately. And clearly that win over Dallas looks a lot better now than it did maybe before that game happened. But I think this is a step up in class. I like Buffalo coming off of the bye and the loss. But I'm not laying 7 points on the road with a team that can't stop the run. So I would lean to Buffalo, but not bet it.
I would say they're like a Walmart version of the Browns. The Browns play tough defense. The Panthers are tough.
I think the Browns are a couple of points better than the Panthers.
I've been in Group D, both of them. But I would rate the Browns ahead of the Panthers. Like I said, a Walmart version of the Browns. Like they both play tough defense. Panthers number 9. They both run the ball very well. Both questionable passing offenses. I think Carolina's offensive line is better than Cleveland's, but Cleveland's defense is better than Carolina's, and so I think they're pretty close. Personally.
On a neutral field, I would have Cleveland at -2.5 on a neutral.
Okay, I probably have like -1, so I think I have them in the same tier. All right, well, either way, we don't view this game as being worthy of our card. So let's go to the next game, which is Giants at Eagles. Eagles are -7.5. So maybe we don't make the same mistake as last week, or I don't, and remove the Giants. I don't know if you like the Giants or not, but I would take them here. I think the spread's too high. The Eagles have not won by more than 7 all year, and they just aren't playing all that well right now. I know that like certain things they do well each week, but it's like they don't put it all together in one game. Like one week it'll be Jalen Hurts having a great performance, but the defense will not play all that well. Next week the defense will play well, but they can't move the ball. And then throughout this entire ordeal, they can't run at all with Saquon Barkley. Saquon is the second worst running back in the NFL right now in terms of yards before contact. Like Gentry's the only one who's worse. He's just getting hit in the backfield over and over again. Like no chance to do anything. So even if the Eagles get a lead here, I worry that they're going to allow a backdoor touchdown because they can't hold leads with no running game. We've seen that a couple times. We saw that against Tampa. We saw that against Denver. And even Minnesota. Like, Minnesota almost came back and won. So I feel like the Giants with Dart and Scatterbo, they're showing a lot of fight. And so I think they'll be able to keep it close and cover the 7.5, maybe even win outright. So what do you think about this game?
Yeah, I agree. And I think obviously the only real reason for me to lean towards the Eagles, if somebody like that size, is the revenge factor. You take away the revenge factor, and this line is too high. I actually made the line 6. So I thought being at 7 or higher, I would be on the Giants for sure. Obviously, the Eagles are off a good win. We said last week we liked the Eagles because we both believed that they were still a Super Bowl contender. They're still a top 5 or 6 team in the league. They haven't shown it, but I think going forwards, we can still at least pretend that we believe that they're still in that top echelon of teams. They're off a good win. Hurts was very good, finally. So 19 of 23 was much better last week than he had been previously. Saquon obviously still hasn't come through, although I would expect him at some point to bounce back. The Giants are a much better team than their record is. To talk about you are what your record is, clearly that's not the case. The Giants are a feisty 2-5 team. They have some excitement right now. They should have won last week. Obviously, they went to sleep with the lead. Their defense kind of went into prevent mode, which is always a problem for good teams, bad teams, mediocre teams. You're not going to win games if you're playing prevent. Dart made a mistake, right? It's a rookie mistake, but Dart's playing very well. He continues to play very well. He moves with his legs. He can avoid pressure. He's throwing the ball to a bunch of nobodies, and he's making plays. And I like the fact that he brings that like kind of attitude, that moxie to the game. I think the team is buying into him. So they're going on the road here. It's a divisional game. When they played 2 weeks ago, the Giants dominated the game. I know it was close until a late turnover, but the Eagles in that game were 1 for 9 on third down. The Giants were 11 for 15 before they didn't convert a third down on the last drive. So I think this game is going to be a close game. Would it shock me if the Giants won? No. But I'm getting more than a touchdown here. Give me the Giants. I mean, this is not my number 1 pick, but it's probably my number 2 or 3. And hopefully we don't take it out of the card. I think I have a pretty good read on both of these teams, and I've been on both of these teams, both for and against, for the last few weeks, and feel like I've been doing pretty well with the Eagles, both for and against, and the same for the Giants. So I think the Giants are going to be a very tough out for the Eagles here, and I think the Giants, we bet they're under for the season win total because their schedule is really, really tough. But I still think there's going to be a lot of value playing the Giants week in, week out going forwards.
Yeah, we agree. So definite for us, I suppose.
Yeah, I would put this in.
Okay.
The Warriors won the game, and I went 8-3.
8-3. I was worried about
missed by 1 3-pointer from Buddy Hield, 1 rebound from Jamal Murray, and 4 points from Jokic.
Man, sorry to hear that.
Jokic needed to get to 25. He ended up with a triple-double. He had 13 rebounds. I needed 25. He had 21 points. Aaron Gordon had 50 points in this game. That's crazy. I had him to get 35. I think he had 28 or something, or 27 at halftime. Yeah. And that's when I took the play, and I took him for 35. And this is where live betting, right, by the way, whether it's NBA or football, I see in this game that Aaron Gordon had 27 points. His over-under now for the second half is 8, right? Maybe it wasn't. Right. Maybe I just took it on like the 35-plus line because I got some plus money. Clearly, he's engaged in this game. Clearly, he's feeling it, and clearly they're riding him. That's where you make money. Before the game, I have no idea who's going to show up or who's not going to show up. Christian Brown didn't have a big game tonight, so he didn't sniff my SGP at halftime. But Aaron Gordon had 27 points, and I played him to get 35 or more, and he ended up with 50. Jokic at the time had 7 rebounds, and I played him to get 5 more, I think, as you did as well. Maybe you took that pregame. Jimmy Butler ended up with 21 points. He had 12 or 13 when I took him to get 20 plus. Curry ended up with 42. I think I had him to get 25. And he had 6 threes. I needed him to get 4 threes. Like, I'm taking things that are relatively easy, right? So if I take 10 or 11 legs, I expect to hit 7 or 8 of them. And then we'll see what happens. Buddy Hield went 1 for 7 from 3. That was the 3-pointer that I was missing. But we talk about this all the time with football, bringing us back to the NFL. When you're playing a game, you're playing a night game, for example, that's close, a back and forth offensive performance, or maybe you're doing this during Bills Chiefs at 4:00 on Sunday afternoon. If you're seeing guys engaged in the game and they're part of the game plan, maybe it's Kelsey, or maybe you see a situation where Allen is running a lot or Mahomes is running a lot, you could put together a mid-game live halftime SGP, having a lot more information, which makes your bet, your leg, a lot more informative. So yes, I know you like to go before the game, and you're giving this out to a lot of different people, but pay attention mid-game. It's so much easier when you have the data behind you to play game situation. I mean, I do this all the time. That's why we got kicked off FanDuel last year during the NBA playoffs.
Right.
So my new FanDuel account's under my wife's name. I'm back on FanDuel, baby.
Nice.
I'll be kicked off within by the end of the year, or by the end of the NBA season. That's my goal.
You have to use a cousin's FanDuel.
We'll use a cousin.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway. Maybe cousin Jaden's.
Sorry for the tangent.
Yeah. Cousin Jaden's FanDuel is going to be next.
Cousin Jaden.
Was it?
Yes. That was a big loss, that Jalen Carter being inactive. But again, I think the line's too high, and I think the Giants are going to be a feisty team.
Yeah, I feel like they lost by what was a 17-point game. I don't know. Like, okay, maybe they would have won with him. I don't know, but they wouldn't have covered that spread. I don't think. What was that result in the game? That was 34-17. Yeah. So does Jalen Carter count for 17 points? Like, I probably not. Right. So, like what player does except for a quarterback. I think it's probably a closer game if Carter plays. And like I said, maybe the Eagles win a close game, but I don't think they would have covered the 7. This is a team that just hasn't won by more than 7 all year. Like, why would they suddenly start doing that? No, maybe they do flip on the switch, but they have some issues. Like they can't block at all. Like, they can't run block, and that's a problem, especially when you're holding a lead. And we've seen, like I said before, we've seen them blow leads all the time. So I feel like that could happen again. But either way, we have +7, right, on the circa
7.5.
I wrote that down wrong. Why did I
I'm
write
pretty
down
sure it's 7.5.
I wrote down 7. Let's see for sure. Just put up Andy's email here. I may have written that down the wrong
7.5.
Okay, I did it during the game. So okay, I did 7.5. Yeah, I did that during the game. So maybe I was distracted. So okay, so 7.5.
Super contest and circa are both 7.5.
Yeah, I wrote down 7.5 for the super contest, but apparently I wrote down 7 for the circa. But okay, 7.5 it is. So we have 2 definites so far, and we can get to the next game, which is the last of the early games already. Browns at the Patriots. This line is 7. The Patriots have been awesome, covering the spread, but they played so many Group F teams. I think they played 4 Group F teams so far. Not to take anything away from them, I'm impressed with Drake May. Mike Vrabel's done a great job. They're certainly a lot better than they were last year. But this is Drake May's first tough defensive test all year. Again, they played Carolina. Carolina had those injuries. Like, now they play a Cleveland team that has been shutting down most opponents this year. Even Detroit, when that was a blowout, it wasn't Cleveland's defense that was the fault. It was Flacco throwing interceptions. So I feel like the Browns should be able to limit what the Patriots are doing for the most part. I think Drake May will still make some plays, and it might be enough to win. I do not trust Dylan Gabriel, so as far as like betting this game, I'm not like eager to do it. I don't have a play on this game at all, but if I had to take it, it would be Cleveland at +7. What do you think about this one?
So we're on opposite sides of this one. So okay. Patriots obviously off the easy win. May has been excellent. May was 21 of 23 passing last week, almost 10 yards per attempt, which is anything over 8.5, 9 yards per attempt is considered kind of in the elite category. Now, for those who said the game didn't mean anything to Vrabel, Andy, Vrabel after the game said how emotional the game was for him. It clearly meant a lot to Vrabel. And I think going forward, it's just the human nature that it had to have meant a lot for him and his team. Now, so just something to note for the future when we talk about coaches who might be going back to those kinds of situations. The Patriots just won back-to-back road games. I know we talked about 2 weeks ago and last week about teams on back-to-back or triple back-to-back road situations. They are playing great football. I have New England. I continue to raise them in my power ratings. I have them as an above-average team. I don't think there's any disputing that at this point. Their defense certainly could be better, but their offense is playing really great. And May is pushing the ball downfield. Now, as far as the Browns go, Dylan Gabriel, under 4 yards per attempt or under 4 yards per play, their offense is tied for last in the league with the Titans. Overall yards per play offense. This team cannot move the football. And Gabriel is not an NFL quarterback. So when you have a team that's just completely one-dimensional, and last week they took advantage of field position against turnovers that Tua gave them. Otherwise, they did nothing. Now, they didn't have to do anything. So it's hard to penalize a team when they're up by 20 plus and they just don't have to do anything. They could sit on the ball and run it. So I don't want to put too much stock into the fact that they couldn't move the ball last week. And obviously you mentioned their defense, but I look at this game similar to kind of the Lions game that they played. Now, I know the Lions offense is better than the Patriots offense. They lost to Baltimore 41-17 in a game that felt closer. They lost to Detroit 34-10 in a game where Detroit, again, just kept their foot on the gas. And they lost to Pittsburgh 23-9. I think that's the type of game you're going to get here, that 23-13, 23-16 type of game, because I don't think Cleveland's going to put up more than 16 points. They generally don't. Last week they did for the first time in like a year and a half. And I think you can slow down the Patriots. They can put up 23 points. That's probably below what their season average is, but they can still win the game 23-13. Now, the Super Contest line is 6.5. I agree with the spread. I actually made the line 5.5. But even at 7, I would still lay it with the Patriots. Now, this is probably like the Bengals. I don't really want to lay 7+ points. At 6.5, I would lean towards it a little bit more. So I don't think this is going to make our card. Obviously, you're on the other side anyway.
Right.
But I lean towards the Patriots here. I think this is a very, very, I wouldn't say a very good team, but this is definitely an above average team against a team that I still have towards the bottom of the league that can't score. So I would lean to the Patriots in this game. Give me like a 23-10 type, 23-13, 23-10 type of game.
I can see that. I mean, it's not a game I have a confidence in. And you mentioned those games, the Baltimore game, Detroit game, not so much the Pittsburgh game, because I think the Browns are just fatigued off their travel schedule. But the other games, they were close for a while and looked like the Browns would have a chance to win those games. But ultimately, their offense self-destructed, and that's why they didn't cover the spread, even though they did outgain Baltimore in yards and yards per play. And like I said, the Detroit game was a byproduct of Flacco making interceptions and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, if I had any faith in Dylan Gabriel, I would like the Browns here. I just have no faith in this guy. He stinks. Should not be an NFL.
That's correct.
Yeah, he's going to be a long-term backup, I'm sure. But Shedeur Sanders is, I assume we're going to see him at some point. I think he has more upside, but I think his floor is even lower somehow. So, the Browns are, despite last week's win, they're not going to win too many games going forward. So we have a question from Horse. Evan, you were ahead of the curve on Washington last year. Do you think the Patriots are this year's team that just is going to keep on winning / covering, possibly even into the playoffs?
Well, Indy's probably that team, but New England, by a product of their schedule, will definitely come close to that. So last year, we had the Redskins into that top 10 pretty early.
Yep.
And I remember at one point we had a conversation about you had called them overrated. And I remember asking you where you had them in your rankings. And I had them even higher than you did. So that was close to a top 10. Right now, I have the Patriots at number 13. And I think that's a fair place to put them. Maybe they're 12, maybe they're 11. And they have such an easy schedule. So I think they're going to continue winning and covering games. Are they going to win and cover in the playoffs? I guess we'll have to wait and see who they're going to play. Because if the playoffs turn out where they're playing teams like, the Chargers, who I still think are better than them, or Baltimore, if Baltimore is healthy, assuming they're a wild card, assuming Buffalo doesn't fall apart, they're going to have to go on the road in the first game, and that's going to be a tough position to put them in. So maybe they're a team that can win in the playoffs, but I would say right now this is a team to continue riding. I think the Vegas markets have kind of caught up to them a little bit, making this line 7, which is above where my power ratings would be. I don't think there's any discounts. We took them last week, right? What was the line last week? Patriots last week were -7. We played them -7 last week. And the week before, I think we played them again. They were on the road against the Saints. And in that game, they were only 3.5. And we played them in that game, and they should have won that game by much more. Obviously, the refs took some points off the board there. So I think the markets are now starting to catch up to New England. So you're not going to get any freebies with laying 7. Who do they play next week? Next week, Atlanta. I actually made the line 2.5, and they're -3. They're home against the Falcons next week. So the markets, to me, have definitely caught up to New England. I don't think you're getting any bargains right now on this team.
Yeah, I remember last year when Washington, when they first started winning games, they were only -3 at home against Cleveland. I do remember. I do remember that game. That was insane.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand that spread at all. I'm like, what am I missing here? I felt like I was getting like duped or something. Like it's like a fake, one of those scams. Like, hey, you could win 11 cars. Like, hey, claim 11 cars. Like I thought that was like the sort of deal that we had, and apparently not, because they covered easily. So
Yeah, they were late. They were late on that, and they're starting to catch up on the Colts. Last week the Colts were dogs. And I remember my power ratings, I had made them a favorite, but I still kind of leaned towards the Chargers last week. And we'll get to the Colts in a couple of minutes, but I think Vegas is pretty much now caught up to the Colts as well.
Yeah, John's saying I think Indianapolis and Seattle are this year's it teams. I'm not sure about Seattle. They haven't really beaten a good team yet. I think they've had like a pretty easy schedule for the most part. Seattle. The only team they played above Group C was the Niners, when the Niners are mostly healthy, and they lost 17-13. Other than that, they have not played above Group C yet. So
I have elevated Seattle from the beginning of the season by a large margin. I have them as also an above average team now. I started with them pretty low, and they've definitely impressed me. I don't think they're this year's it team. First of all, I don't think Seattle's going to make the playoffs. I still think there's teams ahead of them. The Colts pretty much have already made the playoffs and already pretty much won that division, barring something crazy. They've pretty much locked up that division right now. And Seattle, I don't think is as close to that as people might think. I think Seattle, and you were on Seattle this past week. I was not. I was on Houston, so I was dead wrong on that game. I'm not ready to buy into Seattle as the it team right now.
Where do you have Seattle in your rankings?
Seattle in my rankings right now, I have it 15 as a +1.
Okay, I have 11. Harambe Slayer, $9.99 super chat. Thank you so much, Harambe Slayer. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. He says, this line is fairly efficient on the Browns at Patriots. Patriots stopped the run, so Gabriel will have to do something. Yes, this game really comes down to turnovers. May strip sack and Stevenson fumble. Yeah. Look, if Stevenson starts fumbling again like they did against the Pittsburgh Steelers, then certainly the Browns could steal this one. The Patriots really should be 6-1 with all those fumbles they had against Pittsburgh. I do think there's a good chance this game will come down to turnovers, given how good Cleveland's defense is. Cleveland should keep the Patriots from going nuts. I think the only way the Patriots get to like 27 plus in this game is if the Browns just give them turnover after turnover, which we saw against Detroit. Like that could happen. But if that doesn't happen, if the Browns are careful with the football, which I think Gabriel's more likely to be turnover free than Flacco, but he's far less likely to torch the opponent. Gabriel's just dink and dunk all over again. He's not going to take any chances. So that's why I kind of like lean toward the +7 here, because I don't think the Browns are necessarily going to turn over. Now, if they fall behind 14-0, then they could be forced into throwing downfield, and that could lead to disaster. But I think the Patriots maybe, coming off the Vrabel revenge game, maybe they're, a little lackadaisical here, and they're a little flat. I could see that. So, yeah, I do think you're on something there, Harambe. So thank you so much for the super chat. Evan, any thoughts on this comment?
I think this is going to be like the Pittsburgh game. I think Dillon Gabriel going on the road. I agree with you. He's not going to push the ball downfield, so maybe he's not turning the ball over. But I don't see how they score. So to me, they're looking at 13 points, 16 points max. And as long as May is pushing the ball downfield, which he's been doing, he's throwing the ball downfield. He is attacking. He is aggressive. I like that. Mm-hmm. Also, he's got mobility. So this is going to be a really good test for what's his name, for the left tackle. You got a rookie going up against Myles Garrett right now, Campbell. So this is a real test for him. But as long as I have some mobility in the pocket, which May has shown that he's going to be able to escape pressure and throw the ball downfield, you can't handicap turnovers. Obviously, Stevenson fumbling the ball in his own zone, or obviously like Pittsburgh when they had 4 turnovers, 2 of them on the goal line, 5 turnovers, 2 of them on the goal line, 1 passing, 1 rushing. If that happens, I mean, obviously that's going to change the outcome of the game. But I think all things being equal, you think turnovers out of the mix, the Patriots are they're going to win this game by 7 to 10 points. So we don't have to put it onto the card. It's not a great pick. I like it more in the super contest where the line's 6.5, but I definitely am not. I'm not a fan of Dillon Gabriel, and I'm not going to be taking him on the road to keep games close. And I don't trust the back door from this team either. So this is not like a team that's going to be chucking it downfield. He's got no weapons. I don't like Judy. I don't like their receiving core. I like Judkins, but if they're down 14 points, that's not a backdoor situation that I'd like to be in.
Yeah, I do like Fannin, so maybe he factors into the tight end day.
Tight end day? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, maybe. Huge fan of the show, guys. Keep it up. Yeah, thank you, Harambe. Really appreciate it. Recipes Harambe. Still my favorite fantasy team name. Harambe Memorial High School. Nice. All right, let's get to the late afternoon games. We have 3 of them. Buccaneers at the Saints. This line is 4 or 4.5. It's actually 3 in the Circa contest. I don't know why. Maybe it was 3.5 earlier today. I didn't see it. It's 3.5 in the Circuit Millions contest.
Yes,
which
right.
Yeah, weird. Anyway, I like Tampa a lot here. The Saints are one of the teams. You said no bet teams. Maybe you don't have the Saints in that group, but I do. I had them in Group F. I know they. They played a little bit better here and there. They covered against Buffalo. They almost even took the lead in the fourth quarter, but Brandon Cooks dropped a touchdown. But they've had some ugly games too. Last week they got blown out by Chicago. Several weeks ago they got blown out by Seattle. What is the common denominator in the game is that the Saints couldn't run the ball in either game. You had 2 top 10 defenses in Chicago and Seattle. They both limited what the Saints are doing on the ground. And when you limit what the Saints are doing on the ground, that means Spencer Rattler has to do more, and that just leads to disasters. We saw last week, Rattler having 3 interceptions. Tampa, we know they stopped the run. Vita Vea, one of the best nose tackles in the NFL. He's going to make sure Kamara doesn't do anything or Taysom Hill doesn't do anything. Kendrick Miller's out for the year, so don't have to worry about him. So the Saints are not going to be able to run the ball, which means Rattler is going to have some turnovers against Tampa's pressure. Tampa gets after the quarterback rather well, and the Saints lost their center, Eric McCoy, one of the better centers in the NFL. He's out. That's a huge loss for such a young quarterback. So yeah, Tampa seems like a great play. They're coming off a loss, so good spot to rebound. And we saw Tampa at New Orleans last year with Rattler playing. I believe Tampa won 52-27. I think that's what the score was. So we know they could blow the Saints out in New Orleans. I like Tampa here a lot. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, funny you brought up the game from last year because I looked at that game as well. Baker in that game threw 4. He had 3 picks. He also threw 4 touchdown passes.
Yep.
Obviously put up the 50 spot, 51-27. So
51-27.
They definitely have the potential to put up real points, even without some of the receivers. And I know obviously they're very banged up. See, to me, the Saints are not on the do not bet list because they keep fighting. They were down 20-0 last week, and for like a minute, I thought they were about to make that game interesting until Rattler just continued to hand the ball to the other team. So, if he's going to play like that with multiple turnover-worthy plays, 3 picks in the game, they're not going to stand a chance. I don't understand this line. I saw the 3.5 flash. I guess we got lucky that it flashed this morning because this line is mostly 4.5. So I don't know. I made the line 5.5. So I am surprised to see the 3.5 here. I like the bounce back spot. I highlighted the Bucs as a potential pick. I'm not sure this is one of my top 5 because, again, you're taking a team on the road, a divisional game, and Tampa seems to find ways to play these close games that Baker pulls out. But I do like Tampa to win and bounce back from last week's performance. I have a feeling they win this. I think they're going to put up 24, 27 points, maybe 30. And I don't think the Saints can hang with that. But if Baker comes out and is sloppy, this game could be frustratingly close. So don't love it, but I think 3.5 provides some value. Not a lot of value because it's still over 3. We're still looking at trying to win this game by a touchdown and holding off a backdoor late. And you see the Saints fighting, whereas the Jets are quitting, the Dolphins have quit, and Tennessee just is awful. So those 3 teams, you can't touch them with any amount of points. The Saints with enough points, I could see us picking our spots with them. But here, not enough points to take the Saints. I agree with you on the Bucs. Don't love it, but certainly could go along with and you've been good with going against Saints. And I've been good allowing you to go against the Saints with teams like Arizona that we got lucky with and some other teams earlier. So I'm happy to go against the Saints again with a team because of the spot. Really, that to me is the biggest kicker here.
Okay, I will put Tampa down as a maybe, so maybe we'll get to them. I think the difference between the 3 teams, your do not bet teams, and the Saints is that the Saints are actually coached well. Whereas, McDaniel, we had Callahan before he was fired, and Aaron Glenn, like miserable coaches. But I think Kellen Moore has shown something. I think he's done a good job this year coaching wise. Like we don't see it in the wins, but he just doesn't have the talent. Like there's no talent there. Like I think once he gets talent in a year or two, then I think that the Saints could be something. But right now they just don't have anything. So I'm fine fading them. I'm fine fading every Group F team every week, provided that the other team is not going to be in a obvious look ahead spot or something, or if the other team is like severely banged up. I think you could just fade these teams every week and have a lot of success because the NFL has changed. So I don't think people realize that. Andy and I have talked about that actually, where he looks at stats from 2002 onward, whenever he looks up, like how teams have done in certain situations. And I said I actually like 2010 more because 2010 is the first year post lockout, or they didn't really have. They didn't miss any games, but like the new CBA, where the new CBA prevents teams from practicing as much as they used to, and I think that really hurt the bottom feeder teams. Like before 2010, you'd routinely see like one of the worst teams in the NFL upset a good team. That would happen sometimes. Like now it's so uncommon to see, unless like the favorite's just really unfocused, just because like these teams can't make a good game plan for the opponent, and they can't practice enough where like the bad players get better. So I think that like it just really hamstrung these horrible teams. So anyway, so yeah, that's why I think like 2010 onward is a better barometer for how these teams will play. So. Anyway, we've had Mundo. Mundo, hey, how's it going? Which three would you start between DK Metcalf, Zay Flowers, Sutton, Shakir, or AJ Brown? He hasn't practiced since Wednesday because of his hammy. Interesting. I didn't look at the Eagles injury report yet. So you are you are correct. AJ Brown has not practiced yet this week, so maybe another reason to like the Giants there. Obviously you can't play Brown with a hamstring right now unless he's full on Friday. Then maybe you can consider him. So leaving Brown out, you have DK, Zay Flowers, Sutton, Shakir. I would play the first three. We'll talk about Green Bay, Pittsburgh later, but Green Bay's defense has been suspect, so Metcalf looks good. Flowers with Lamar Jackson. Now, if Lamar's out, then I think you take out Zay Flowers and put in Shakir. But right now, is Zay Flowers and Sutton, there's no he had a really good game last week in a comeback, and there's no number one corner on Dallas that you should be afraid of. So, I would go with the first three. Sutton facing Dallas defense auto start. Yeah, I think that's like the most obvious one. I think Sutton's the top play. So good luck, Mundo. Hope you win your fantasy matchup. So all right, let's go on. Speaking of these horrible teams you cannot touch, the Titans at the Colts. This line has moved to 14.5 in the
15.5 right now in Circa.
Okay. So in the contest, they are still 14. So this seems like a great play. I don't know how we not have the Colts on this. Now, I would say the one negative that you could say about the Colts is that they're coming off a win on the West Coast against the Chargers. Not the best team, but they went on the road as quote unquote underdogs and won. And now they fly back, play at home against a team they've already beaten. So that is like the only argument I could hear in saying like, hey, maybe take the Titans or avoid the Colts. I would counter with the Titans are probably the worst team in the NFL. They can't do anything. They can't stop the run, which against Taylor is going to be a disaster. They can't get to the quarterback. They can't stop the pass. They can't run the ball. They can't pass protect. They can't throw the ball. Outside of that, they're pretty good. The Colts should be able to win this game very easily. Even if they're like flat, like they should be able to win by like 21 accidentally or something. So I like the Colts a lot here, especially at 14 in the contest. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, so I don't have to add anything to your Tennessee rant because pretty much covered all the bases there. Another 5 sacks for Ward last week. I wish I could have bet what I said before the season that he was going to lead the league.
Yeah, you did. You called that one.
That was fairly obvious, just the way he played at Miami. But let's talk about the Colts, because last week I mentioned that I had them in my power ratings enough that they should have been favored, even though I was on the side of the Chargers. So what I realized was, and why I said that last week was because this team really hadn't beaten anybody good, right? They hadn't really been tested. But what's the mark of a good team? When they play bad teams, they take care of business. When they play Miami, and by the way, remember they were pick 'em in that game. As a matter of fact, they opened as dogs week 1 to Miami, which we kind of laughed at. And it was like so perplexing that I scared me away from betting them or picking them as a contest pick. But they're taking care of business. When they play bad teams, they killed Miami. They killed this Tennessee team. They killed the Raiders, right? So when they play garbage, they're destroying them. The game they lost, they should have won. And that was a real game. That was a game at Rams, right? Yep. They go into LA, they play the Rams, and if not for AD Mitchell fumbling the ball across the goal line, they probably win that game too. Their offense is playing great. Warren looks awesome. Obviously, Taylor's playing great. The offensive line's playing great. The defensive line is playing great. Just across the board, this team is really – this is the Vikings of last year, right? The Darnold-led Vikings last year who ended up winning, 14 games? 13 or 14 games. So this is a team that – this is a survivor to pick this week. I think this is the time to take them.
Yeah.
Once again, I have 2 entries. So the question is, do I use them once and maybe look to sneak in another team and save the Colts? But in really looking at their schedule, it's not like they have the Patriots schedule. They're playing bottom feeders week in, week out. As a matter of fact, they don't really have any games throughout, I think, for the rest of the season where you would say today that they're a 7-point favorite. No. They're favored in most of these games, but they're not going to be a 7+ point favorite. So it wouldn't surprise me if they came back down to earth as far as wins and losses. But I still think this team is going to win 11 or 12 games by nature. They're actually a very good team. They're well coached. Can't believe I'm saying that about Shane Steichen, but they're well coached. Jones is playing fantastic. They're playing great at every single level of the special teams, defense, offense. Everything is really at the top end of the league, not even average, well above average. And they keep their foot on the gas. In 6 of their 7 games, they've had 29 or more points, right? They've had 40 points twice. So if they're scoring 40 plus or 35 plus, and their foot's on the gas, and they're constantly blowing out bad teams, and they already blew out this team on the road, the only thing that you can say for Tennessee is that Colts completely take them lightly. But I don't think a team like this is ready to start taking teams lightly. I think they still have something to prove, and I just don't see any talent. You know, Titans came out last week, first drive, scored a touchdown, and I had the Patriots in Survivor, and I'm like, are you serious? We're losing right now. Come on. I don't think that happens here on the road. I think they get after Cam Ward. I think they shut their offense down. I think their foot's on the gas. I'd be surprised if they put up less than 28 to 31 points, if not more. Give me 35-13. You know, again, 20-plus point win, minus 14. I hate taking them in the contest, but I have no problem laying it in this situation.
I hate
taking 14s generally.
Okay.
In the contest. It's not usually a thing that and I've seen you write this and say this numerous times over the last few weeks. That just because a team is minus 14 doesn't mean you can't play them. And I guess you can almost say that any time a team is favored by 14, there's a reason why the market is what it is. But I think here it's very justified, very warranted with a team that's on the DNB do not bet list, a team that's not dead man walking because they already fired their coach. So, and they have a rookie quarterback. There's not really any place for them to go, but a lot of guys are out. Simmons is out. Ridley's been hurt. So even the talent they have is now not playing. So I don't see a level of focus. I don't see a game plan that's levels up to the team, to the competition that they're playing. And I see a team on the rise on the other side has been blowing out the bad teams. So everything to me points towards laying 14 in a contest. And now I see current Circa has the game minus 15.5, which tells you all you need to know. That means real money is coming in laying the 14 or 14.5, that it's pushing it. So I feel good about the 14 here.
Yeah. I brought this up with Andy yesterday. The teams that are favored by exactly 14 in the month of October, dating back to 20-something years, they are 9-5-1 against the spread. So I don't bring that up to say, oh, you have to bet it because of that. I just bring it up to say that, hey, you can bet them at -14. You can bet teams at -14 this early in the season. It's like the history has proven that it is a feasible strategy. So that's how I feel about that for the contest. They will be on my card. And as John pointed out, you just said Simmons is out. He's the only great defensive player, so that's going to make the defense even worse than it already is. Do you stand as like this being a maybe on our card right now?
No, I think this should be in. I trust this team to win by significant margin.
Okay,
I think this team is winning the game by 21 plus.
Okay, so we will have them as definite right now. So we have 3 definites and 1 maybe right now.
If you look at their possessions throughout some of these weeks against bad teams, they're scoring 30 plus at a high rate. They're scoring on the majority of their drives, even if they're just getting into field goal range. They're moving the ball and putting up points. Their defense has been good, and the Titans are just absolutely awful. Yeah. It's hard for me to get to a team that's a -11. Like that, for me to be at a team like the Jets, Dolphins right now, and Titans, that means teams like the Saints, Panthers, and Raiders would be favored by at least a field goal over those 3 teams. Yep. And I think it would be warranted to say that the Saints and Panthers right now should be at least a 3-point favorite over Dolphins, Jets, and Titans, given how they're playing. We talked about this last week with the Dolphins. I said I would absolutely consider Cleveland as a survivor pick, and people thought I was crazy. It was one of my favorite picks on the contest at -2.5, especially with the weather, which wasn't even such a factor in the game. The Dolphins are just awful. The Jets are awful. The Titans are awful. So you have those 3 teams that just don't care to win football games right now. I don't know how many points I would need to put dollars on the Titans at this point. So I wouldn't play them at +28.5. Like it wouldn't surprise you if this game is 40-6, like the Raider game. To me, it wouldn't surprise me at all. The Raiders last week lost 31-0. Could this game be 31-3? Sure. I don't want Titans +28. So give me 14. I'll take the 14.
I think I would need 5 touchdowns to do it. I
think I'd bet the game. I just wouldn't put any money on the game. You don't have to bet, right? I just wouldn't. I don't want DMB. I wouldn't want any part of Jets, Dolphins, and Titans at this point. No amount of points.
Well, there is a number. There has to be a number that's if they were +88, you would obviously take them.
Okay, that wouldn't be 88, right? But if they were +49, I wouldn't take it.
Right. I'm just saying that there has to be a number like that you would put money on.
Yeah, because obviously you're not going to get 100 points in a game. Although Miami just
2 years ago, 73-0 was the most lopsided game ever. Right. +74 automatic bet, right?
+74. Sure. Yeah. Listen, the line with a realistic line, even like a college line, right? Some of the college lines we see could be mid-30s. Right? Yeah. I've seen plenty of lines this season that are 30, 40 points. You see like a line like an Alabama or a Georgia favored by 44.5, and the over-under is 51.5. It's like, what do they expect? They're literally 45-6 is what they expect, 49-6. That's what I would expect in a game like this, where every time the Colts get the ball, I would think, they're probably going to score. And I might text you on a Sunday afternoon, especially since this is one of the 4 o'clock games. There's only 3. I can see myself, like I did last week, texting you, hey, Colts over 31.5, Colts over 33.5, Colts 38.5. We lost the 38.5. But this is a team that late in the game, what's their team total going to be? I want over 6.5 points every single chance I get until 8 minutes to go in the game.
Yeah. Yeah. This should be a massacre. We had a question going back to the Giants. What do you think the team's mental status is after leading a game by 18 with 5 minutes to go and losing? That has to be soul crushing. What do you think about that? And I have something for this, but I want.
Well, last year we saw that with the Bears when they lost in the Hail Mary game against Washington and didn't win a game the rest of the season until week 18. I think the Giants will bounce back because I think for the Giants this season, it's not necessarily about wins, although obviously they're pissed off they lost them. I think Daboll broke a chair in the locker room. Brian Burns walked off the field in a rage. It looked like he was ready to kill somebody. He was mouthing off. He was going crazy. But I think a team like that will bounce back. They're now playing a divisional rival, and I think they're going to play hard, competitive football. a team that's a playoff contender that loses in that fashion, that their season kind of just unraveled because of it, I think might react differently. I think the goal for the Giants, I think they're smart enough or realistic enough to know that they're not making the playoffs anyway. But if they can play competitive football and improve week in, week out, I think they could take positives from that. Again, I'm not in the locker room. I don't know what the guys are saying or seeing. We're not there. So for us, we're making assumptions regardless. But I think that a team that is competing to just get better week in, week out will take comfort and take a win out of, hey, we played well. We're playing better. Let's get back to the grind and now show our division rival that it wasn't a fluke that we beat them 2 weeks ago. So I really think the Giants will be competitive, and I think the mindset after a soul-crushing loss, I think the mindset will be, hey, we're playing better football. Let's get back to the grind and show people that we belong.
I have numbers on this.